Good day, everyone. Today we shall be looking at Module 2, which is on urbanization and urban areas. The module is an interesting topic, urbanization, not only interesting, but important, because it is one of the tools that will help us to understand the context of the course. As you already know, the entire course is about social conflict in urban spaces. It is thus important that we understand these concepts of urbanization and urban areas. What are the objectives of this session or class? We have 5 main objectives. We are hoping that at the end of this session or class, every participant would know the meaning of urbanization, understand the factors that give rise to urbanization, have an overview of global trends in urbanization, identify the characteristics of urban areas, and appreciate the difference between urban and rural areas. Now, we look at the meaning of the concept of urbanization. Urbanization can be seen from different angles. One is to look at it as a process by which large numbers of people become permanently concentrated in relatively small areas, forming cities or towns. That is, it is a process leading to the concentration of a large number of people in a particular geographical space, resulting therefore in the formation of cities and towns. We can also look at it as a process through which cities grow, or the progressive increase in the number of people living in towns and cities. Furthermore, urbanization can also be understood as the population shift from rural to urban areas. That is, the decrease in the population of people living in rural areas and how these societies adapt to this change. It is a process by which towns and cities come into being, become larger, as more people begin living and working in central areas. Urbanization is very common in developing and developed worlds. If properly guided, urbanization can engender economic development and prosperity. However, if not properly guided, it could bring about serious challenges, including social conflict and safety issues. Now, we want to progress by looking at the factors of urbanization. The earliest towns in history came into being due to improvements in agriculture and transportation. But subsequently, urbanization has been propelled by rural to urban migration, urban natural increase, and reclassification of rural to urban areas. Factors which drive urbanization are diverse, but for the purposes of our class, we are looking at just 5 of them. One is industrialization, which is typified by the transition from essentially traditional agricultural economy to non-agricultural economy, characterized by the presence of industries and factories and other forms of occupations. Number two is commercialization. The modern era has witnessed what we will call a huge growth in commerce and trade. And this has also propelled the emergence and growth of rural areas. Of course, as you know, urban areas. Of course, as you know, urban areas have huge population sizes, and these are good places for commerce and trade. So it's one thing that has fueled or propelled urban growth. The third one is improved amenities. Of course, as you are aware, it will appear that it's a conscious or deliberate preference for the urban areas in terms of distribution of amenities in most parts of the world, and at the expense of the rural areas. So urban centers have amenities like good education, good health facilities, good housing, arrangements, and so these attract people from the remote hinterlands to the urban centers. The fourth driver is employment opportunities. There are more employment opportunities in the urban areas, and this explains why people will continue to gravitate towards the urban areas. And finally, is the quest for modern lifestyle. Of course, urban centers are also characterized by modernity and modern lifestyles, and this is an attraction to a lot of people who would want to key into this type of lifestyles. Now, what are the global trends in urbanization? Current global trends in urbanization can be characterized as follows. 1. Rise of mega cities or megapolises. When we talk of mega cities, we are talking of hugely populated cities ranging up to 10 million. Megapolises can be seen as maybe regions that have a combination of mega cities. So what we are going to be seeing, or what we are seeing today as part of the trend of urbanization, is the rise of mega cities and megapolises. The second is increasing urban sprawl and suburban areas, increase in travel infrastructure, and rise of slums and urban blights. Continuing, we also see that close to half of the world's urban dwellers reside in relatively small settlements of less than 500,000 inhabitants, with only around 1/8 living in the 28 mega cities across the globe, with more than 10 million inhabitants. Fastest growing urban agglomerations are medium-sized cities and cities with less than 1 million inhabitants, and these are generally located in Asia and Africa. Most mega cities are large cities and located in the global south. What are the future projections in urbanization? According to the United Nations, the following trends are expected. 1. Continuing population growth and urbanization are projected to add 2.5 billion people to the world's urban population by 2050, with nearly 90% of the increase going to be concentrated in Asia and Africa. Number 2, just 3 countries, India, China, and Nigeria, together are expected to account for 37% of the projected growth of the world's urban population between 2014 and 2050. India is projected to add 404 million urban dwellers. China will add 292 million urban dwellers, and Nigeria will add 212 million urban dwellers. Furthermore, the number of mega cities has nearly tripled since 1990. And remember, we are defining mega cities as cities that have population size of at least 10 million people. And by 2030, 41 urban agglomerations are projected to house at least 10 million inhabitants each. Tokyo is projected to remain the world's largest city in 2030 with 37 million inhabitants, followed closely by Delhi, where the population is projected to rise swiftly to 36 million. Now, what are the characteristics of urban areas? There are quite a number, but for our purposes in this class, again, we shall be looking at a few. 1, large population and overcrowding. This is the heart of urban areas, large population size and overcrowding. Heterogeneity, talking about urban areas being the melting pot of cultural diversity and all manner of diversity and heterogeneity. Number 3, traffic congestion and accidents. This is the case in nearly all urban areas, traffic congestion and accidents. Number 4, anonymity. Of course, because of the large population size of the urban areas, life there is anonymous. People hardly know their neighbors. Number 5, mobility and transiency. Yes, people are constantly on the move. Lastly, we have unemployment and underemployment in the urban areas, because as more and more people throng the city centers for greener pastures, what we discover is that jobs are not enough for the population. Next is the differential between urban versus rural areas. What is the difference, or what are the differences between the urban areas and rural areas? 1, rural areas have typically large amounts of undeveloped land, while the cities are built-up areas with structures and infrastructures. Number 2, in urban areas, the rate of urbanization and industrialization is high, while in a rural settlement, the rate of urbanization is quite low. Urban areas also have high population density, while rural areas have low population density. Physical development, amenities, employment opportunities, education, and the like are better and more obtainable in the urban than rural areas. Furthermore, life in the urban areas is usually fast and complicated, while in the rural areas, life is simple and relaxed. Social mobility is more intensive in urban areas and less in rural areas. Generally, crime rate and variety are less in rural areas than urban areas, where crime rate is affected by overcrowding, anonymity, and the absence of traditional methods of social control. Now, the summary of this class. In this topic, you have learned the following. 1, that urbanization is a process by which large number of people become permanently concentrated in relatively small areas known as cities or towns. Number two, urbanization is affected by industrialization, commercialization, improved amenities, employment opportunities, and the like, which attract large populations to cities. Key characteristics of urban areas are socio-cultural and demographic diversity, urban crime, conflicts, and the like. Urban areas are built-up areas, while rural areas usually have more undeveloped land and foliage. This brings us to the end of the class. What follows are assessments that you are expected to go through and test your understanding of the session. Thank you and bye.